In the distant future, humanity had spread its wings across the galaxy, establishing colonies on distant planets, expanding the reach of civilization far beyond Earth. The most ambitious of these ventures was located in the Andromeda Galaxy, on a planet called Tyras. This thriving colony had been blessed with a sun, Aurelia, which provided light, warmth, and the energy needed to power the colony's technological marvels. However, Aurelia was dying, and no one knew why. Dr. Asha Karim, a brilliant astrophysicist, was the first to notice that something was wrong with the sun. Its energy output had begun to fluctuate with increasing instability. When Asha and her team conducted further studies, they discovered that the sun was collapsing faster than any natural process could explain. The very core of Aurelia was destabilizing, threatening to consume the entire solar system. Desperation set in as the scientific community scrambled for answers. But the truth was clear. They had only a few months before the collapse would be irreversible. Desperate for a solution, Asha proposed an unthinkable plan. The only chance of saving the colony was to retrieve an ancient, mysterious energy core hidden deep within the heart of the dying sun. This core, once thought to be a myth, had the power to reverse the sun's collapse and stabilize its energy. But it was located in the sun's volatile core, surrounded by extreme radiation and gravitational forces beyond anything they had ever encountered. The mission would be perilous, if not impossible. The Andromeda Council, in a last-ditch effort to preserve the colony, sanctioned Asha's plan. A team of experts was assembled to journey to the heart of Aurelia and retrieve the core. The crew included Commander Eli Reyes, a veteran astronaut with a reputation for being calm under pressure, but haunted by the loss of his previous crew during a failed mission years ago. Juno Pasha, a young and talented engineer, was determined to prove herself in the field despite the doubts she often had at the morality of their mission. Kara Lee, the colony's former ambassador, had been appointed to ensure that the mission remained politically and ethically sound. Lastly, Zane Akira, an ex-soldier known for his ruthlessness, was included as a security officer, though his presence raised more questions than answers. The Solara, a state-of-the-art spacecraft designed for intergalactic travel, would be their vessel. As the team prepared for their journey, the air was thick with tension. There were whispers of potential sabotage from unknown factions. Not everyone was on board with Asha's radical plan, but the alternative was the complete destruction of Tyras, and with it, the loss of thousands of lives. As the Solara set course for Aurelia's dying core, the journey through space was as dangerous as it was breathtaking. The vast emptiness of space stretched infinitely before them, and the crew found themselves isolated in the cold, silent void. They spent long hours in the ship's command center, running simulations and planning their approach to the sun. Ellie, the ever-stoic commander, kept the crew focused. "We stick together. We don't take unnecessary risks," he said, his voice calm but firm. But inside, he couldn't help but feel the weight of his past failures. The last time he led a crew on a similar mission, things had gone terribly wrong. His crew had perished, and he had returned alone, a broken man. This mission felt no less dangerous, but there was something different about it, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. Juno, the youngest member of the team, was the first to voice her concerns. "I know this is necessary, but I don't feel right about it. We're sending people to die. And for what? A slim chance that this core is even real." Her words hit a nerve, but Asha, who had been silent for most of the journey, turned to her. "I understand your doubts, Juno, but this is the only chance we have. Every second we waste, we lose more lives on Tyras. This is not just a mission, it's the only hope we have." Kara, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "We're not just saving a colony, we're saving the future of humanity. If we fail here, it won't be the end of Tyras. It will be the end of the hope for all the colonies. We must succeed." As the Solara approached Aurelia, the ship entered the sun's outer atmosphere, and the crew felt the gravitational pull immediately. The The sun's radiation levels were off the charts, and even with the ship's shields at full power, the crew could feel the heat creeping in through the hull. The mission was no longer just a scientific endeavor. It had become a race against time. The Solara passed through an asteroid belt, narrowly avoiding deadly collisions. The ship shook violently as debris collided with their shields, but Ellie's expert piloting kept them on course. As they neared the sun's core, the crew braced themselves for the final descent. The closer they got to Aurelia's core, the more unstable the space around them became. They encountered swirling pockets of intense radiation, time distortions, and gravitational anomalies. The fabric of space itself seemed to tear and twist, threatening to pull them apart. As the Solara descended deeper into the sun, Zane's true motives began to surface. While he had always been professional, there were moments when his actions seemed overly aggressive, particularly when it came to the safety of the crew. One evening, after a particularly harrowing encounter with a gravitational anomaly, Zane made a decision that raised suspicion. He had bypassed some of the ship's safety protocols to stabilize their trajectory, but he had done so without consulting anyone. It was a calculated risk, one that could have cost them their lives. But when questioned, Zane remained eerily calm, deflecting the questions with an enigmatic smile. Ellie didn't trust him. "What are you really after, Zane? Why are you here?" Zane's eyes narrowed, his face hardening. "I'm here to do my job, and if that means making tough decisions, so be it." But Eli wasn't convinced. It wasn't until they reached the heart of the sun, where the energy core was located, that Zane's true intentions were revealed. In the intense heat of the sun's core, they discovered the energy core, an ancient, crystalline structure of unimaginable power. It pulsed with a bright, almost unnatural light. Asha immediately began the process of extracting it, but as the team worked, Zane made his move. He pulled out a concealed weapon and aimed it at Asha. "Give me the core," he said, his voice low and deadly. "I was hired to bring it back to the Andromeda Council. You've outlived your usefulness." The team was stunned. Zane wasn't just a hired mercenary. He was working for a faction within the Andromeda Council, one that had known about the sun's instability for years, but had kept it a secret. The collapse of Aurelia wasn't a natural event. It had been engineered as part of an experiment to harness the sun's power and use it as a weapon. Zane's mission had always been to ensure the core was delivered, no matter the cost. The crew fought back, but the chaos nearly destroyed their chance of escaping. Juno, her engineering skills pushed to the limit, managed to stabilize the ship's systems long enough for Eli to subdue Zane. He was restrained and left behind as the team continued their mission to stabilize the sun. As the crew made their way back to the Solara with the energy core in hand, the magnitude of their situation hit them. They had saved the sun, but at what cost? The truth about the Andromeda Council's involvement in the collapse was known only to a few. They had been pawns in a larger game, used as tools to cover up the Council's dark secrets, but they still had a mission to complete. Asha had the power to stabilize Aurelia, to prevent it from consuming Tyras, but there was a choice to be made. Using the core could save the colony, but it would also empower the Council further. The core's power could be used for unimaginable destruction. After much deliberation, Asha made the decision. "We stabilize the sun," she said. "We save the people of Tyras. The truth about the Council can wait. Right now, the lives of millions are at stake." They succeeded in stabilizing the sun, restoring life to the colony. But as the Solara headed back to Tyras, the crew knew their victory was only temporary. The truth about the Council's corruption was out, and it would only be a matter of time before the galaxy would have to confront the darkness that had taken root within its most powerful institution. The colony of Tyras was saved, but the mission left its scars on the crew. Ellie, once a broken man, found a sense of peace, knowing that he had done something right for the first time in years. Juno had doubts about the morality of the mission unresolved, vowed to work towards a future where humanity's expansion was guided by ethics, not power. Kara worked tirelessly to rebuild the political landscape of Tyras, ensuring that the truth about the Council's manipulation would one day be exposed. As for Zane, he was imprisoned on a distant world, his once strong resolve shattered by his failure. But Asha knew that their work was not over. The galaxy's future had been altered, and it was only the beginning of the fight for freedom. The last light of Aurelia flickered brightly, a symbol of hope for the future, but also a warning. In the darkness of space, there were always those who would seek to control the light.